Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Site for Wight, welcoming you to this week's Talking News.
This is Den reading an article from Island Echo. St John's Ambulance goes above and beyond for the Isle of Wight. With COVID numbers spiralling earlier this year, St John Ambulance stepped up to support our NHS here on the Isle of Wight, and the result has been so successful that more than 40 St John ambulances were seen out and about on island roads in August alone. Since February, St John has been putting its life-saving skills to extraordinary use for us, and it amounts to more than 300 additional shifts being provided to the island, giving an additional 2,700 hours of ambulance coverage locally. The charity's relationship with the NHS continues to grow, and the numbers offering their support to the island are also growing. St John's bright new ambulances can be seen on the ferry most days of the week, also supporting with mainland transfers to free up island crews to remain on the island. Trained to the exacting standards we have all come to respect, these deployments have seen crews from all over the south, from as far afield as Bristol, Kent and London. The crews are also gaining valuable support and expertise from their NHS counterparts, as they are being used to support on all types of call. Brigadier Maurice Sheen, chairman of Isle of Wight St John Priority Group, says, "As the Ask Me campaign shows, our training is world-class and literally life-saving here on the island. So it is excellent to see the St John logo on teams of men and women out there on the front line. I am so proud of the island volunteers, as well as the teamwork and can-do attitude with crews from the mainland." Victoria White, head of Isle of Wight Ambulance Services, adds, "At the beginning of the year, the demand on the IW ambulance service rose significantly, and COVID-19 related staff absences put additional pressure on our service. We are very thankful to St John Ambulance for working alongside us. Their ongoing support is helping us to care for our community effectively and efficiently in what continues to be an incredibly busy time for urgent and emergency services. A huge thank you to the SJA team from all at the Trust." As the St John training is once again opening up, there has never been a better time to update your skills or apply to join one of the groups here on the island. For more information, telephone 0344 770 4800 or see the St John Ambulance Isle of Wight Facebook page or visit www.sja.org.uk.
Hello, this is an article from the Island Echo read by Sue. Apley sewer works may be extended over concerns of future collapse. Sewer works at Apley in Ryde may be extended as there are concerns that further sections of the buried pipe could collapse. Southern Water says that engineers have successfully overcome major engineering challenges posed by the geology and location of the collapsed sewer and have now completed the original repairs. It was back in January of this year that a large sinkhole appeared, prompting investigation works to identify the cause. It soon became evident that a 1 metre wide sewer, which carries all of Ryde's wastewater, had collapsed some 10 metres underground. Now, almost 10 months on from the discovery of the sinkhole, roads remain closed, car parks shut, and businesses face continued disruption. Visitors to the area have noted the rancid smell of raw sewage as it is pumped into the nearby pumping station and onwards to Sandown. The smell has become so bad that local business Cadet Beach Club had to be temporarily closed. Residents and businesses will be unhappy with the news that additional questions are now emerging regarding the condition of the sewer nearby. Project managers, in consultation with key stakeholders, must now make a decision on whether to stop working and restore the area or to extend the works. A spokesperson for Southern Water has said, "We recognise that extending the works would cause further inconvenience for beach users and businesses nearby, But this must be balanced against ensuring customers are properly served now and in the future and the environment protected. We remain committed to minimising impact on the area, community, local businesses and environment, having made significant interim payments on account, pending figures showing loss of earnings to local businesses. We are also in conversation with the Rowing Club and Inshore Rescue to support these important community groups. As soon as a decision is taken, a detailed update will be given to customers, stakeholders and the media. It's thought that the emergency repairs have cost several millions of pounds to date, with the project having cost £2.5 million back in April. It's known that the pumping equipment cost £25,000 a week to hire, running up a bill of an excess £650,000 alone. It's unknown at this time how long the works would have to be extended to enable further repairs.
This is Michael reading from On the Wight. Plans for first council housing in many years to help islanders avoid rough sleeping. The councils say the properties will become long-term council-owned assets and will provide island residents with an affordable place they can call home. A unique opportunity for the Isle of Wight Council to purchase and renovate housing which will be made affordable for people at risk of rough sleeping will be considered by Cabinet members next week. At a meeting next Thursday, 14th of October, councillors will hear that the authority has again been successful in securing national funding to help those facing homelessness on the island. Funding for 5 units, totalling £472,368 from the government's rough sleeping accommodation programme. It is proposed the grant is used to provide 5 units of supported accommodation for local people, ready for occupation by the 31st of March 2022. To secure the money being offered, the Cabinet is being asked to support the Council becoming a registered provider of housing and an investment partner of Homes England. This will involve the Council providing an additional £389,868 in matched funding. Stevens. Properties will become long-term council-owned assets. Councillor Ian Stevens, Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member responsible for homelessness and housing needs, said the project presented a unique opportunity for the authority. He said homelessness continues to be a major priority for the Council, and this funding will enable us to continue this important work. This is a unique opportunity for the Council. These properties will become long-term council-owned assets and will provide island residents with an affordable place they can call home. The overarching benefits of the project and proposals are multifaceted. In the short term, the project will deliver a further reduction in the number of rough sleepers and provide us with homes in our control for the first time in many years. In the longer term, this provides the Council with potential to bid for affordable housing grants as an investment partner of Homes England and registered provider of housing.
This is Petrina reading an article from On the Wight. A new floating bridge is a realistic possibility. Councillor lays out details of FB future. A new floating bridge is a realistic possibility, says Councillor Philip Jordan, while blasting the previous administration's dithering 4-year track record, labelling their huge spending on it, the most expensive sticking plaster this island has probably ever seen. Councillor Phil Jordan, Isle of Wight Cabinet Member for Highways, PF Transport, shares this release about the Alliance administration's next steps in the floating bridge saga in his own words. During the last 4 years of the Conservative Isle of Wight Council administration, much council tax money was spent on the floating bridge, choosing to solder on the floating bridge 6, spending uncapped amounts of money on temporary repairs, and in turn negatively impacting local businesses, residents and visitors. The Conservative administration ignored professional independent engineers who, since June 2017, strongly advised the Conservative-led council to reject this floating bridge as it could never be fit for purpose. It was the Conservative political leadership who claimed floating bridge 6 wasn't too big and that it was fit for purpose, with merely teething problems and snagging issues. Responding to recent comments contained in a letter from a former Conservative councillor, Councillor Phil Jordan, the Cabinet Member for Transport, said, "The Isle of Wight Council Alliance administration that was elected in May is absolutely committed to preventing unlimited amounts of money being spent on FB6, unlike the previous administration who did so for 4 years. Over the past 5 months, we have been working towards interim solutions as well as a proper long-term permanent resolution for a floating bridge, including speaking with excellent independent engineering experts to make sure everything is done correctly. We are now able to make some headway towards proper solutions and have formed a pragmatic, clear and decisive action plan." He added, "A new floating bridge is realistic possibility. The new Alliance administration has the consideration of a new floating bridge very much on the cards, but unfortunately it is a slightly more complicated decision-making process because the 3.2 million floating bridge 6 was not funded solely by the council's money, but by a multi-million government local growth deal grant awarded by the Solent Local Enterprise Partnership. Frustratingly, it is not quite as simple as buying a new car to replace an old model. The Solent LEP asked the Isle of Wight Council Conservative administration in November 2020 to commission a much-needed independent technical report and government review on the issues of the failing floating bridge 6. They asked again in January 2021. Unfortunately, the Conservative administration failed to commission the report. Councillor Jordan continued, "As a result, we are now taking action. The review is an exhaustive independent audit, very similar to what independent engineers asked the last council to repeatedly do since 2017. The report will be undertaken by independent consultants, local partnerships, and will be scoped as a cabinet review type report. It is a necessary and important step that officially will assess the floating bridge and demonstrate if it can ever provide the frequent and reliable crossings like the old floating bridge 5 could do, even at 40 years old. The completely independent report on the vessel will be undertaken in the timescales laid out and is set to be completed by the end of November 2021. Stop wasting money. The Alliance is stopping all major spend on floating bridge 6 other than for immediate breakdowns to maintain the service. Clearly, it is important to maintain this important crossing, and we will do so until the final solution is implemented once all current matters are settled. In March 2022, there is a statutory MCA 5-year inspection of the vessel, as they inspect all floating bridges top to bottom every 5 years. There is no choice for this routine statutory inspection, which means the floating bridge will be out of service for 4 to 6 weeks, and the cost of this inspection is estimated to be around £250,000. Councillor Jordan went on to add, "The Alliance administration has now begun the mediation process about the floating bridge, as no mediation has taken place by the previous administration, despite the former leader of the Conservative administration claiming that a mediation process was underway between the council and those involved in the design and build of this floating bridge. The previous administration repeatedly denied the public's request for information about the floating bridge, citing mediation and an ongoing legal case as the reason not to answer questions. The Alliance administration already has immediately and decisively insisted that a mediation process be undertaken before the end of November 2021, and a date is currently being agreed and set within the time frame we have laid out. At the 14th of October Isle of Wight Council Cabinet meeting, the consideration of the next step with the floating bridge will be discussed. A new floating bridge could be very much part of the considerations after the process of mediation and independent report is concluded by the end of the year. Councillor Jordan commented, "We are extremely concerned with how unreliable the current floating bridge appears to be and how it is hurting local businesses and spending islanders' valuable council tax. It has been incredibly frustrating that the floating bridge is having continued problems and breakdowns and out-of-service periods since we took over the administration of the council in May." The tall tales. Adding detail, Councillor Jordan said, "The previous Conservative administration wasted time and money for 4 years, even though they had access to all of the technical knowledge and legal documents and were made fully aware of the Floating Bridge 6's problem. They ignored engineering experts and the facts and instead chose to keep spending taxpayer money on this floating bridge without a real plan for a long-term solution. It was the most expensive sticking plaster this island has probably ever seen." 2 independent reports commissioned since 2017 have cleared entirely the Isle of Wight Council's then independent administration, 2013 to 2017, of liability in the procurement of the current Floating Bridge 6. The independent administration, as councillors weren't given access to the very technical engineering side of the design and build of the Floating Bridge 6, as it was being created, built and delivered. In the end, whilst the Conservatives dithered about the floating bridge for 4 years, the real losers have been the residents, the shops and mobile companies in Cowes and East Cowes, everyone suffering the heavy tailbacks in Newport, and every islander who has to pay council tax. All islanders deserve better, and we cannot afford a mismanaged money pit any longer." Finally, Councillor Jordan added, "The Alliance generally wants to be transparent in what is happening and let everyone know about progress. In May, we pledged to islanders that we would be a listening council, and this is what we are doing regarding the floating bridge. More information about the floating bridge will be forthcoming in the immediate future and at the next Isle of Wight Council Cabinet meeting. We would like to and intend to keep the public updated as regularly as we are able with progress on finding a solution. It is not a simple process, and we have complications to work through with stakeholders and with a legal action running in tandem. But we will resolve this matter without any further long-term delays." In stark contrast to the way the previous administration dealt with the Floating Bridge 6, their misinformation and failed attempts to find solutions within the first 6 months of office, and the Alliance will resolve the mediation process will have commissioned an independent technical report and will have resolved all matters directly with the Floating Bridges funders, the Solent Local Enterprise Partnership, before taking very clear and decisive actions to finally place a full stop on the past 4 years of incompetence.
Hello, this is an article from Island Echo, read by Sue. Coast Guard recover drifting dinghy after emergency report from Ferry. Bembridge Coast Guard rescue team was tasked to recover a dinghy that had been drifting in the entrance to Wootton Creek on Tuesday morning. HM Coast Guard received notification from Wight Link's cross-Solent vessel St Clair that the rubber dinghy was drifting unattended. The dinghy was soon recovered and taken to the Fishbourne terminal, where it was later returned to its owner, who confirmed that it had slipped its mooring. Coast Guard rescue officers stood down shortly after the dinghy was returned. If you or someone else is in difficulty on the coast or at sea, or if you spot what you think may be an unexploded ordnance, then dial 999 and ask for the Coast Guard. Further safety information can be found at https://coastguardssafety.campaign.gov.uk. Get help faster by giving emergency services your exact location by using what 3 words? What 3 words have divided the world into 3-metre squares and given each square a unique combination of 3 words, which means when you are in a remote area of the Isle of Wight, you can get assistance much quicker, without the need for local knowledge.
This is Den reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. A fantastic story. Peregrine falcons return to the Isle of Wight. Peregrine falcons are once again flourishing in the wild on the Isle of Wight. It's anticipated that at least 3 pairs have returned to the island's countryside. The birds, which have a wingspan of between 74 to 120 centimetres, were once a prominent sight in the Isle of Wight's skyline. However, a number of factors contributed to them effectively disappearing in the 1950s and 60s. During the Second World War, the government ordered peregrines to be killed. With their main diet consisting of pigeons, UK officials feared the falcons would intercept birds carrying top-secret messages. The risks to the peregrine population didn't stop there. It's a bird that throughout the 1900s really suffered. People stole their eggs from nests, particularly when they were nesting on cliffs, said Keith Betton, chairman of the Hampshire Ornithological Society. After the war, they were killed by pesticides that were very powerful and were introduced to improve farming, so they've had a really bad time. By the 1980s, peregrines had completely disappeared from the south of England and weren't to be seen again until the 1990s. Fast forward to 2021, and there are signs the birds are now beginning to thrive once more. Keith said, "They returned to Hampshire in the 1990s and have grown now to about 20 pairs. They have also returned to the Isle of Wight. It's a fantastic story. It's good to see a bird increasing rather than decreasing in numbers. Peregrines typically live on cliffs, but Keith says they are now adapted to modern society and can be found on high-rise buildings, including the chimney at Forley Power Station. A number of sightings have been made at undisclosed locations on the Isle of Wight, and as Keith says, the birds won't be difficult to spot. When they start nesting, they're really quite noisy. They call a lot, and when they have nested, they spend a lot of time training their young to catch food, so they train them in the air. I suppose it's a bit like if you were near where the Red Arrows are based, you'd see them practicing. Well, it's exactly the same with peregrines, and it's highly visible and great to watch." After suffering at the hands of humans for many years, the predator is now benefiting from protection. Law dictates anyone disturbing the birds without a specific licence can be prosecuted. News of the peregrine falcons returning follows the reintroduction of white-tailed eagles to the Isle of Wight in 2019. Last month, a dozen more sea eagles were released on the island, as Isle of Wight previously reported. Keith anticipates other species of birds will come to the island as climate change takes effect. He said, "The general trend we're seeing in the UK is, as our climate is now slightly warmer than it was 25 years ago, birds that 25 years ago would never have come here are now moving in. It's a matter of change. Distributions do change over time."
Hello, this is an article from Island Echo read by Sue. Man flown to hospital after boat falls on leg causing serious injuries. A man has suffered catastrophic leg injuries after a boat fell on and crushed his leg in Cowes. Emergency teams were summoned to a boatyard off Cowes High Street following the incident last week, which saw the man suffer major trauma as part of the vessel, thought to be the keel, slammed down upon his limb. The Isle of Wight Ambulance Service, along with multiple police units, responded to the scene, where the attendance of a specialist flying doctor was requested. As previously reported by Island Echo, the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Air Ambulance made a swift descent into the lawns of Northwood Park last Monday, the 27th of September, where its team and medical equipment was offloaded and transported to the boatyard. The casualty was stabilised by medics before being transferred to the helicopter and flown to the Major Trauma Centre in Southampton for treatment at around 15:30. The incident has been passed to the Health and Safety Executive, and HSE spokesperson has said we're aware of the incident and making initial inquiries.
This is Michael reading from On the Wight. Sandown in bloom picks up gold for second year running. Sandown's entry was spearheaded by Sandown Greentown volunteers, who the judges commended for the immense amount of time, hard work and dedication they put in to brighten up their coastal town. This summer saw Sandown awarded gold for the second year running in the South and Southeast in Bloom Small Coastal Town category. Coming in as category winners, Sandown's entry was spearheaded by Sandown's Greentown volunteers, who the judges commended for the immense amount of time, hard work and dedication they put in to brighten up their coastal town. They were praised for their upkeep of existing garden areas and their continued search for future projects to enhance the town both horticulturally and environmentally. SGTVs understood that in the changing world new avenues need to be explored and have taken on board modern gardening trends and have moved planting away from the large formal gardens of old and incorporated herbaceous perennials and ornamental grasses, shrubs in their schemes to give year-round structure and interest. The work being undertaken by the Friends of Battery Gardens to breathe new life into the gardens and encourage wildlife was applauded as one of the improvements being made to the area along the cliff path, already attracting pollinators being developed by SGTVs. It was noticed that throughout lockdown, SGTVs continued to beach and litter pick whilst taking their daily walks. The South East in Bloom judges recognised that, like many seaside areas, some hotels have fallen into disrepair, blighting towns. They praised the artwork decorating these ugly sites, knitted artwork covering the barriers with woolen flowers, insects and abstract patterns, colourful wheels created from abandoned hubcaps, and flowers modelled from plastic bottles, turning them into art galleries to distract from the urban blight. The highest marks in the entry came from the environmental section, where volunteers guided and aided by ecological engineering specialists. Art ecology have created habitats for coastal loving plants and wildlife to flourish, with native plants allowed to self-seed. Particular mention was made of Sandown Seed Bank, where planting has encouraged a build-up of sand akin to the former dunes that were once there, creating a habitat for native flora and fauna. Articology have also introduced vertipools, artificial rock pools, on groins opposite Dinosaur Isle, with an area of the beach reserved for the use of school children as a science beach. On the walkabout, the judges were shown residential and business floral frontages that enhanced the town and were introduced to some local residents and business owners whose hard work has delighted Sandown visitors and residents for many years. On a sunny day in July, the sun shone on Sandown, turning it gold.
This is Petrina reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Captiva Homes reveals latest plans for major housing scheme in Godshill a decade after approval. 10 years after planning permission was first approved, an Isle of Wight developer has revealed its latest plans for a Godshill housing scheme. Announcing its latest project, the developer behind Westacre Park in Ryde, Captiva Homes, has unveiled plans for Lily Cross, reducing the number of homes proposed in the scheme on land at Scotland Farm, Yarborough Close. Plans for the restricted continuing care community supported living development were first tabled in 2004 by the owner of the land, Maurice Flux, when outlined consent for a care village was first granted. However, the planning permission was renewed in 2011 by Tresselwood, Mr. Flux's company. In 2016, a planning application was approved confirming the demolition of redundant farm buildings on the site. Originally, the outlined development included a nursing home, 68 extra care cottages, 26 extra care apartments and associated facilities. However, there was the potential for up to 143 extra care units. Now, though, Captiva Homes is proposing to build up to 107 1, 2, 3 and 4 bed homes for a wider demographic. Taking over the development, Captiva says it will increase the number of affordable properties from 10 units to 39, as well as limiting the height of the buildings to 2 stories instead of the taller, already approved buildings. No planning application has yet been submitted to the Isle of Wight Council proposing the latest scheme, but developers say it would provide homes to benefit as many local people as possible. Captiva Homes owner James Pink said, "Without our updated Lily Cross application, 143 units could be built as per the plans, without any further consultation with the public." The team at Captiva Homes, as local people, felt a commitment to exploring this opportunity to ensure maximum protection and responsibility development of the land by islanders who cared about our community. "We are passionate about creating a community of homes that integrates more appropriately within the surroundings than the currently approved scheme. With a firm focus on excellence in design, materials and craftsmanship, we hope to sensitively blend our improved concept within its landscape, the environment and its neighbours." A public exhibition is being held on Thursday, October the 7th, at Godshill Primary School for residents to view the scheme. The event will be held between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m, but proposals can be viewed online at lilycross.co.uk.
This is Den reading from Isle of Wight Radio. Urgent appeal to display Isle of Wight children's handmade Remembrance Day poppies. An urgent appeal has been launched to find a location that could display thousands of poppies handmade by Isle of Wight children next month, November. As previously reported, The Royal Marines Association on the Isle of Wight is taking part in a 75-day-long campaign to tidy up war graves on the island. Isle of Wight youngsters are being asked to play their part and make a poppy, which will be displayed on Remembrance Sunday when the campaign ends. It was hoped that they would be displayed at Shanklin Chine. However, concerns about the weather has resulted in an urgent appeal to find an inside location. 20 Isle of Wight primary schools have agreed to take part, and the indoor location would need to be able to display the flowers for the first 2 weeks of November. Terry Goodwin, branch secretary for the Royal Marines Association on the Isle of Wight, told Isle of Wight Radio, "Part of this tidy-up is a poppy flower display that will be created by Isle of Wight schools' primary children. We are planning to get it completed by Remembrance Sunday, so we are looking for a space for the first 2 weeks in November. My concern with Shanklin Chine is the weather. I'm really worried the weather could destroy the display before we had set it up. With all the hard work the children are going to put into this, it would be a disaster basically. So to be on the safe side, we are looking for an indoor location. If anyone could help us, I would be really obliged. At present we have nowhere to go, and the children are, as I speak, making these flowers, so time is not on our side. The Sandown Ladies Sewing Club is planning to make a large centrepiece poppy, which will also be displayed among the smaller ones. Meanwhile, to support Isle of Wight schools, the Royal Marines Association has created a crowdfunding page for the participating Isle of Wight schools to help fund their future education. You can donate here at https://www.justgiving.com/crowdfunding/IOW schools. If you have an indoor location that can be used to put them on display, call Terry on 07469 633 821 or email him at terry.goodwin231@gmail.com.
Hello, this is an article from Island Echo read by Sue. Matilda, horrors, an absolute nonsense, another big month for island theatres. Maureen Sullivan provides the latest insight into the island's theatres, with a big lineup set to hit the stage over the next few weeks. Alright, we have to admit, it's autumn. Even if the weather doesn't quite know what it's supposed to be doing, island theatres certainly do. And they are preparing some top quality entertainment for you over the next month or two. The Island Savoyards are thrilled to be back at Shanklin Theatre, performing the deviously delicious smash hit musical Little Shop of Horrors. Nerdy Seymour works in a rundown flower shop and attempts to avoid its closure by bringing in a plant he has named Audrey 2, in honour of his colleague for whom he secretly harbours feelings. Audrey 2, however, begins to wilt, and Seymour discovers it needs to be fed human blood. This iconic show is a tongue-in-cheek comedy with an early Motown vibe and hungry carnivorous Venus flytrap that is out of this world. The Savoyards will be bursting onto the Shanklin stage with a live orchestra, unique set design and an amazing talented cast to mark their first full show in 2 years. Little Shop of Horrors will run from the 21st to the 23rd of October at Shanklin Theatre. You can book tickets from the website at https://www.shanklintheatre.com or by calling the theatre box office on 01983 868 000. You may be familiar with the Ronald Dahl story of Matilda, a little girl with astonishing wit, intelligence and psychonectic powers. She lives with cruel parents who find her to be a nuisance, a lousy little worm and a bore. When Matilda enters her first term at school, she captures the attention of Miss Honey, a kind teacher, and the two form a wonderful friendship. Unfortunately, the school is ruled by a tempestuous and mean headmistress named Miss Trunchbull, who hates children and delivers cruel and unjust punishments to all her charges. Matilda is determined to change her story, but with her cleverness and courage to be enough to withstand the reign of Miss Trunchbull. Find out in the Theatre Train musical Matilda Junior, which will be staged at Trinity Theatre Cowes from Thursday the 21st to Saturday the 23rd of October at 7 p.m. and Sunday the 24th of October at 2 p.m. and 5:30. Tickets are available at www.ticketsource.co.uk/theatre train. Following on from the success of the 1930s Ladies in Lavender, the Apollo players are bringing us right up to date with God of Carnage, a comedy of manners with no manners. Two couples get together to discuss an issue between their respective young sons. But what starts out as a polite, amicable exchange of views becomes progressively more challenging, more childish, and more hilarious. Audiences can expect a certain amount of adult language, as the author herself said, "My plays are about people who are well brought up but lose control of themselves." Tickets for God of Carnage, to be staged from the 5th to the 13th of November, not Sunday or Monday, are available online at www.ticketsource.co.uk/Apollo Theatre /God of Carnage EPJYMMP, or from the box office on 01983 210010. More comedy, this time of a musical nature, is provided by Bembridge Little Theatre Club, who are staging the award-winning Broadway show Nonsense at Bembridge Village Hall on the 11th, 12th and 13th of November at 19:30, with a Sunday matinee on 14th of November at 2:30. The Little Sisters of Hoboken are in trouble. For reasons they will explain, they have 4 dead nuns in the freezer until they can afford funerals, which gives them a great idea. Hold a charity musical show to raise the money. With all the sisters convinced they are the next star singer or ballerina, Reverend Mother hilariously struggles to keep control, but the result is a great mix of singing, dancing and comedy. Tickets for Nonsense are available from the box office on 0784 195 0261 or by calling in at Splash Union Street Ride or the Co-op Welcome Store in Lane End, Bembridge. Following their smash hit production of Fame, Curtain Call Creative is proud to present All Together Now, a global event celebrating local theatre. This exclusive musical review features songs from some of the world's most beloved shows. The company will be back on stage at Medina Theatre for one night only on the 14th of November, 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock, with a 17-piece orchestra alongside a stellar cast. With professional set and costumes, you won't want to miss this musical extravaganza. A high-energy night of toe-tapping tunes paired with stunning performances of timeless theatre classics is the perfect way to return to the theatre in 2021. A fantastic selection of songs are featured in this brand new musical review from shows including Rent, Les Miserables, Matilda, Hairspray, Little Shop of Horrors, Disney and Cameron Mackintosh's Mary Poppins, Mamma Mia and many more. These unmistakable tunes will have you leaving the theatre with a spring in your step and a smile on your face. Book your ticket by calling the box office on 01983 823 884 or online at www.medinatheatre.co.uk/article/curtain-call-creative-proud-present all together now. That's all for now, but I'm already looking forward to next month's column, when I'll be able to tell you all about the festive theatre events leading up to Christmas. Look out for Peter Pan, Dick Whittington, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella. Maureen Sullivan is a regular contributor to Island Echo's coverage of the arts on the Isle of Wight. Maureen has been actively involved in the island's amateur dramatic scene for several years, appearing in many different roles and guises with several theatre companies. In her free time, Maureen also writes and reviews at iwtheatre.org. Catch Maureen's column each month for the latest theatre and art happenings.
Before we start the second part of the County Press, here is this week's Society News, read by Pauline
and Morris.
The new swimming group at Medina is on every Monday at 1:30pm. Transport is available and the cost is £5 and £2.50 for transport. New members always welcome.
Reminder, the lunch club is on Tuesday at the Horse and Groom. Please call the office to book a space.
Our place is on once again at West Wight Leisure Centre between 10:30am and 12 noon. Please pop along and see our volunteer John.
Coffee and Chat is on every Wednesday at Millbrook House from 10am until 11:30, and it's only £1 to include the cake and coffee. Come along and spend time with members and staff discussing various topics, etc.
Our monthly book group is meeting at Millbrook House on Wednesday at 2pm.
The Thursday Mix and Mingle is held every week starting at 10:30 and finishing at 2. And if you would like to come along, please call the office to book a space. Transport can be arranged if required.
Our fundraising quiz is back at the Waverley, Carisbrooke, on October the 14th. Entry is £3 per person and teams of 4. If you'd like to book a table, please call the Waverley on 522338. We'd like to thank our trustee Paul for once again arranging this popular fundraising event for us.
Special mention to our wonderful volunteer John Holdaway, who is taking part in a sponsored swim this Saturday between 12 and 2 at West Wight Swimming Pool, raising vital funds for our charity. This is a letter from Keith Brettle in Freshwater, and the headline says, "Cancelled crossing, just start claiming." Having now experienced the unreliability of our ferries, is it not time that we all began claiming for compensation for the failure of a booked service?
And following on from that, need for decent ferries from Josephine Martin of Freshwater. Clamouring for a fixed link in response to the failings by Wight Link is an obtuse cop-out, a refusal to acknowledge that the real need for a ferry operator accountable to an authority in the UK, in preference to shareholders, goodness knows where. This would not have to be national authority such as the Department of Transport, though that would be preferable to the present situation. Common sense and regard for local democracy would suggest a regional consortium representing those with an actual interest in cross-Solent transport. However, speaking as a former customer of Sea-Link, I suggest that even the most bigoted British rail basher could scarcely contend that Macquarie Asset Management run a better service. The Senred, Senwolf and Kmod were accessible, comfortable and reliable, more so than the present fleet with their steep steps. They were also more frequent. I notice fixed link clamourers have ignored the issue of how and by whom such a structure would be financed. Unless a commercial industrial construction company were prepared to make such a huge capital investment or gamble, the proposed tunnel would have to be financed by central government, i.e. the taxpayer. Nationalisation with a vengeance, worse than the infamous M6 motorway financed by general taxation.
We can't support vast numbers, writes J. Gibbons from Ryde. Rhaenyra O'Donnell writes, in response to my article in the County Press on the 24th of September, "I am an immigrant, someone who should be fingerprinted and DNA tested." I was clearly talking of illegal immigrants at that point, though oddly enough, I suggested in an earlier article in the County Press on the 30th of June 17 that all of us should have these identity data on record. She also writes that even with no immigration, the population will still grow, despite the birth rate falling. The present scientific thinking is that we are all descended from people emigrating from East Africa. We're all cousins, Rhaenyra, and all immigrants. My point is numbers. There is a limit to the people this realm can support without great unrest. Sarah McCarthy Fry says the people crossing the Channel are fleeing from war-torn countries. While I would not blame people for trying to put France behind them, it's over the top to describe it as war-torn. I would not oppose the government coming to an international agreement to allow some immigration from hard-hit areas, providing the numbers took into account the population densities of the hosting countries. To take no effective steps against illegal immigration while keeping out Afghani interpreters on whose help we have depended turns my stomach over.
And from Penelope Baker of Lake, Climate Strategy. I refer to the article on climate strategy approval, County Press 24th of September, which reported the Isle of Wight Council only has direct control over about 1% of the island's carbon emissions, presumably CO2 emissions. In fact, council planning strategy and decisions potentially have a significant impact on controlling emissions. In transport, the council can reduce car usage through parking restrictions, domestic, commercial, public, and also increasing public transport. An additional bus station in the west of the island could serve the area better, with smaller, more regular buses on shorter routes. New traffic-generating drive-ins should be stopped. Increasing public transport use through new housing estate development linked to bus routes. In housing, requiring home insulation on new builds, encouraging renewable energy, heat pumps, etc. Please do not get duped by the no-hope forecasts of Councillor Ian Ward, who should resign, as by his own reported statement he has so little to offer. This island has so much to contribute to a national sustainable future in renewable energy, food production and tourism, and with the emphasis on such, a positive economic future.
This is a letter from Colin Knight of Loughborough, and the headline reads, Pay by phone parking problem. I recently wrote to Councillor Jeff Brodie, the chairman of the Isle of Wight Council, but to date have not had either a reply or any acknowledgement to my letter. The reason for writing to him was to highlight the challenges around using payphone as the provider for parking on the island car parks. While recently holidaying on the island in Sandown, I had a fall and could not drive my car. A friend suggested I get a payphone account and utilise the weekly pass on offer. As I was unwell, he set this up for me. Unfortunately, I could not move my car, but assumed it was okay in the car park. For some reason, the transaction was not effected by the provider, and I received a parking contravention notice that I duly paid up, as my appeal was turned down. I tried to contact Pay by Phone helpline to see where the problem was, and all I got was a question on accounts, which was not my query, and then when waiting to be connected to a person, the usual requirement of any meaningful helpline, I just got a goodbye. Perhaps the council should consider a more robust provider of parking who can be contacted by members of the public. For me, sadly, it leaves a bitter taste about visiting the Isle of Wight again. Sad that my 30-year connection with the island should end like this.
From Stephen Bloomfield of East Cowes, the government needs to tackle problem debt. Last week, the government ended much of the financial support provided to help people through the COVID-19 pandemic, and this week it has cut universal credit by £20 a week. These cuts risk a COVID debt crisis as 11 million people have built up £25 billion in arrears and debt since March 2020. On the island, 12,150 people who receive universal credit will be affected by this cut. This includes 5,260 people who are also currently in work. Problem debt disproportionately affects the most vulnerable in our society and is higher amongst low-income households, women, lone parents, communities of colour, disabled people and renters. This COVID debt crisis threatens to weigh down our community for years to come, worsening inequalities and making a genuine economic recovery impossible. As well as stopping the proposed £20 cut to universal credit, the government seriously needs to tackle problem debt in the UK. This means introducing grants and making it easier for those in problem debt to write it down in a fair and manageable way.
Figures matter, writes David Edwards from Binstead. In objecting to Jim Gibbons' opinions, your correspondent Rhaenyra O'Donnell, an immigrant from Africa, advises us that the UK should open our borders to everyone and become even more crowded and unsustainable. At last, thanks to climate change, politicians are now having to address the environmental problems that they have ignored for generations because they felt obliged to comply with the needs of industry and commerce and permitted the massive population growth since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. With this came vast wealth for the few, but much suffering and poverty for the working folk living and raising their huge families in the slums of our large cities, and their quality of life was only improved when birth control permitted such families to have fewer children. This is not ancient history, it has happened within the lifetime of my own parents since 1900. Had past politicians decided upon an appropriate number of people, the UK could sustain and aimed to maintain that sort of level and cause industry and commerce to grow to suit the populace instead of the tail wagging the dog as has happened. We could have perhaps set an example to the rest of the world and would not be facing the extinction that climate change threatens. Make no mistake, a current and still expanding world population of 7 billion fossil fuel addicted, environmentally unaware, ocean polluting, forest and wildlife destroying human beings is still the major cause of climate change. Examples to support reduced population: the Black Plague in the 17th century wiped out 25 million people, a third of Europe's population. The population of the UK during Queen Elizabeth I's reign was less than 4 billion. Just imagine, we could have all polluted to our heart's content, all driven huge gas-guzzling American cars, thrown all our waste into the sea, but as there were so few of us, it would have caused no detriment to our environment.
The railway provides a vital link between towns, according to Adam Palfrey of Newport. In response to John Alborough's recent letter in the county press on why £26 million should be invested in the Island Line, I feel he would see the situation very differently were he to live on or commute to the island regularly. Our railway provides a vital link not just between our towns, but also to our ferry services. Island Line allows us to carry suitcases, bikes and other things which our bus operator will not permit on board. It gives us access to fares and discounts from National Rail, and it doesn't get stuck in traffic when there's an accident on our overstretched road network. Both Ryde, Esplanade and Shanklin stations regularly see in excess of 250,000 passengers a year, which is not a bad achievement for 8 miles of railway. While the idea of handing it over to the Isle of Wight Steam Railway is very romantic, it simply isn't practical. Aside from the spiralling cost of steam coal, the cost of another flooded tunnel or washed away trackbed would surely bankrupt them overnight.
Positive reasons for fixed link, writes Tony Toller from Totland. I can't let the comments made by Sam Turner in the county press on the 24th of September go unchallenged. Mr. Turner accuses me of being too simplistic and ignoring the negative impact of a fixed link on island life. In particular, he says that second homeowners would flood here unrestricted and that more mainlanders would move here and commute. Well, I am sorry, but such happenings are controlled not by the transport infrastructure, but by the availability of housing. If we want to stop people moving to the island, then we must stop building any more houses. I have been unable to find the statistics, but I would guess that a large proportion of the increase in population over the past 20 years, approximately 10,000, has been due to mainlanders moving to the island, including me, and that has happened without a fixed link. The answer is to restrict future house building to affordable properties that will not appeal to second homeowners or commuters. Secondly, the world has changed dramatically in the last 20 years, and we now have to be much more concerned about environmental issues. The impact of 35 red funnel, 150 white link and 42 hovercraft crossings a day is not sustainable in the long term. As recent events have shown, ferries are also subject to regular breakdowns, staffing shortages, weather issues and profiteering at the expense of islanders. I looked up a one-way crossing from Fishbourne to Portsmouth just now, and it's £86, quite absurd. Another impact mentioned was that there would be a serious increase in crime. that would overtake the island because roll-on, roll-off uncontrolled traffic would negatively impact the island. Certainly, if you build an uncontrolled fixed link, this might well happen. But I would suggest that with the massively increased use of CCTV and number plate recognition equipment in this modern era, this would not happen. Also, by insisting that fixed link tickets could only be purchased with the appropriate ID, passport, driving licence, etc., then the integrity of those visiting us could be very tightly managed. It might be necessary to install turnstiles at the mainland entrance, which would only allow access to fully paid ticket holders, but again, number plate recognition would ensure minimum delays. Finally, all the other negative impacts mentioned by Sam Turner, such as our inadequate road infrastructure, can be controlled by the pricing of the fixed link. As with the Channel Tunnel, ferries will still operate and the flow of visitors can be regulated by keeping the tariff the same, or even a little bit more expensive than the ferries. Hopefully, island residents would be given preferred rates. In conclusion, Sam Turner's arguments might have been very valid 20 years ago, but times have changed and the island needs to keep up.
Many of you listeners will remember John Hannam, and this is Elaine McComb's memories. I first met John Hannam when he started work at Gould, Hibbard and Randall with my brother Paul Shuttler. John was a salesman for accounts and Paul was a van salesman. John and Paul became firm friends, a friendship that lasted over 61 years. John very often came to family celebrations, which he enjoyed very much. One of my nieces married a Polish national. He was a dancer, and John put a broom in his hand and quipped, "A Pole dancing." He interviewed my dad, Julian Neil Shuttler, on Isle of Wight Radio on June 24th, 1998, and Dad was in his element talking about Al Jolson and island cricket. If I met John in the street, he would always speak. He was such a gentle gentleman. Paul and his wife Shauna will miss him.
Now we're going on to Wight Memories and Nostalgia. This is an article by Joanne Thornton and the headline reads, "Needles was defended by little known tunnels." You may well be familiar with the Needles old and new batteries managed by the National Trust, but did you know that beneath them lies a sea level fort? These now abandoned tunnels merge at a central point, a lift shaft which leads to the old battery. The Needles Point was chosen as a location to cover Allen Bay and the Needles Passage against a French invasion. There were 5 other locations on the island where defensive batteries were built across the Needles Passage. These were Hatherwood Battery, built in 1865 to 69, Warden Point Battery, which existed in some form by 1803, Cliff End Battery, which also was in existence by 1803, Fort Albert, which was built in 1854 to 56, and Fort Victoria, built in 1852 to 55. Originally, the Needles Battery was planned to be built in 1855, but it was not until 1859, when panic over French attacks surfaced, that progress on the building of the battery was finally made. The land to build it on was acquired by the Ward family of Cowes, and the first battery was built on the top of the headland between 1861 and 1863. It was defended by 6 7-inch rifled guns. These could fire shells which weighed a whopping 256 pounds each, and they were installed on traversing platforms. In 1887, a lift shaft was dug down from the Needles old battery and 5 tunnels dug out to form gun emplacements in the northern cliff face at Allen Bay. These were built for quick firing guns to combat torpedo boats in the Needles Passage. By 1892, one of the emplacements was being used for searchlight experiments, and 2 6-pounder QF guns were installed in another 2. This proved a problem, however, as it appeared that visibility was too restricted at sea level for the 2 guns, as the gun ports were too small, and the torpedo boats were passing too quickly to make the guns effective. So they were removed. The searchlight provided a fixed beam across the channel, and any ship which passed this beam would then be followed with searchlights from the battery above.
During the First World War, a searchlight beam was installed and used in one of the emplacements. This was powered via a Lister diesel generator. Originally, the lift was powered by a Roby engine. This powered both the searchlight and the lift, but by 1915 this was changed to a Campbell oil engine. From 1944, an electric lift gave access to the sea level battery. This electric lift carried men to the sea level, where in 1943 a fixed beam searchlight had been installed. Underground, the sea level battery also houses a reservoir complete with a water pump. Fresh water was pumped to both of the batteries from 1887. The garrisons for the Needles batteries were at Golden Hill Fort in Freshwater, although there was a small barrack block built on site at the Needles and a small officers' quarters built in the parade ground in the old battery. It must be stressed that the sea level battery is not accessible to the public, but remains a fascinating part of island history. The lift shaft is long disused and access is only on very low spring tides, typically only once or twice a year, so anyone who tries to visit runs the risk of becoming stranded. The entrance has also unfortunately been subject to a cliff fall and rocks have fallen across the entrance gate. It should be noted that a power cable for the Needles lighthouse runs from the sea level battery out underneath the seabed to the lighthouse too.
Now on to the section called My View, and the headline reads, Accessibility is vital for people of all ages. Before you judge a man, walk a mile in his shoes. In effect, it is a reminder to practice empathy. While long credited as a Native American aphorism, replacing the word shoes with moccasins, the saying almost certainly is derived from a Mary T. Lathrap poem published in 1895. Try using a wheelchair or mobility scooter, double buggies, crutches, sticks, and walking at a snail's pace, which is as fast as you can. The world around you becomes a very different place. Both my knees need replacing, so after some serious deliberation and based on the fact that prior to Brexit, the UK sent patients there, parts of Ireland still do, we settled on a clinic in Lithuania. The cost for a top-of-the-range, fitted-to-size knee implant, 2 nights in hospital, then 12 days in a medical spa having 4 treatments, including physio and massage a day, all food, nurses and doctors on call, etc., and flights, cost half the cost of the same op in England, where they still discharge you after a couple of days with no proper rehab included. Before I left, we bought a second-hand mobility scooter. We live along Miller's Lane, and I wanted one that went on and off-road, so that I could go for dog walks with my husband. I've missed them so much. Plus, tootle up to the village to see friends, go to the shop and hairdresser. To have the independence to pop out on my own. Except I couldn't go anywhere with being extremely nervous. The most disappointing was the walkway over the ford from Miller's Lane into Castle Street, which led to the village. There was absolutely no way. There are bars there to deter cyclists, which don't work anyway. What they do deter anyone wanting access in a mobility scooter. It's not as though you can drive through the ford, you'll blow your electrics. The only way I could do it was by going up the single steep Castle Lane, turn left and go across the ford in Spring Lane opposite the medical centre. This is the only ford that has a wide enough access for mobility vehicles. Then cross a very busy main road, as I couldn't get to Pelican Crossing without going on the main road. I chickened out at that point and turned back from whence I came, praying that I didn't meet a car on Castle Lane. A quick thanks to the dealer who sold it to us, and then, when 3 days later we realised it was not for us, bought it back at £150 less than we paid for it. Froglands Ford is too narrow. Clatterford Ford is okay, until the Clatterford face end, where you have to go up a slope at a hairy tilt. I felt hemmed in, and my issues are mechanical. They can be dealt with, it's hopefully temporary, but for many people it's not. I can't change the whole world, but I am going to campaign got those blasted bike barriers to be taken away and access given to some of the most beautiful places on our island. I'll even angle grind and smooth them off myself. Anyone interested in joining me?
And now we have an article by Superintendent Sarah Jackson, Maintaining the Trust of the People We Serve. Now more than ever, it's important that we as a police service do everything we can to maintain the trust and confidence of the people we serve. We share the public's horror at the monstrous actions of former police officer Wayne Couzens, who was responsible for the murder of Sarah Everard in London, and our thoughts remain firmly with Sarah's family, friends, and all affected by this terrible crime. I want everyone on the Isle of Wight to know that he is not a reflection of policing in any way at all. He does not represent who we are or what we do. I will echo the words of our Chief Constable, Olivia Pinkney, who last week iterated that we as police officers come into this job to keep people safe, and we all do it because we care about people. We want women to be reassured that we're here to protect them. We will continue to identify offenders and pursue criminal justice outcomes for men who perpetrate violence against women and girls. In an earlier column during the summer, I spoke of our work to create a safer environment for all the nighttime economy on the island after the coronavirus restrictions lifted on July the 13th. This involved meeting with staff, including door staff, at licensed premises across the island and the Isle of Wight street pastors, to encourage them to support us in challenging harassment, abuse or violence on a night out and offering the public help where possible. These partners have provided us with excellent support. One of our officers just last week met with staff at all the pubs in Newport who are running an initiative called Ask for Angela. In simple terms, if you're out on a date, for example, and it's not working out or someone is making you feel uncomfortable, then you can go to the bar and ask for Angela. The staff are trained to understand that this means you're feeling unsafe, and they will discreetly assist you and ensure you can leave the premises safely. I also want to highlight Street Safe, the new online reporting tool launched by the Home Office. The tool is not for reporting crime, but instead has been designed to allow you to report on particular locations, factors or behaviours that have led you to feel unsafe. Just visit www.policeuk.com/street safe and you can make an anonymous report. This valuable information from our communities all feeds into our commitment to keeping you safer and tackling violent behaviour.
What's on? Sir Cliff show to be shown at Cineworld this month. Sir Cliff Richard will be hitting the silver screen this month as he celebrates his 80th birthday. On October the 27th, the popular singer will bring his show, The Great 80 Tour, to Cineworld Newport, live via satellite from the Royal Albert Hall in London. After more than a year away from the stage, Cliff will celebrate the return of live music by performing many of his greatest hits. To have the opportunity to reach an even wider audience in cinemas, and especially for those international fans unable to travel to tour venues, is a little nerve-wracking, yet hugely exciting. I shall begin the tour aged 80 and will be 81 when it's in cinemas. What a great way to celebrate. Cineworld will rescreen the show over the weekend of October the 30th to the 31st, and tickets are available via www.cineworld.co.uk/films/cliff-richard-the-80-tour-live.
And at Shanklin Theatre during October. Thursday, October the 14th to 28th, starting at 8:15pm, we have Beyond the West End. Saturday 9th of October, 8pm, Lucid. Wednesday 13th of October, 7:30pm, Tony Stockwell. Wednesday 27th of October at 7:30pm, Forever in Blue Jeans. Friday 8th of October, 8pm, SHT Faced Shakespeare. Monday the 11th of October, 7:30pm, One Night Dublin. And Thursday 21st of October to Sunday the 24th of October, Little Shop of Horrors. And finally Friday 29th of October, 8pm, Russell Kane. You can ring the box office on 01983 868 000.
Josh Barry to interview Britain's Got Talent finalist. Celebrity interviewer Josh Barry will be chatting to entertainer Steve Hewlett for the Ireland leg of a UK interview series to take place this month. The ventriloquist, a Britain's Got Talent finalist in 2013, will appear at Gurnard Pines as part of Josh's Beyond the Title series on Saturday, October the 16th. The event will cover Steve's rise as a nationally recognised comedian and celebrate his variety heroes from the past. Speaking about the prospect of appearing in the show, Steve said, "Performing on the island is like returning to my roots. In 1994, aged 19, I was a resident entertainer at Whitecliff Bay Holiday Park and have since performed at Haven, Warners, Gurnard Pines and, more recently, at Shanklin Theatre. My memory of 1994 is having my day off at Sandown Pavilion, watching Jimmy Tarbuck, Richard Digance and Stan Boardman, who have since become friends. My collaboration with Josh Barry has been a complete pleasure, and we clicked with our mutual love of comedy and variety performers. See you there with many of my characters." Josh of East Cowes, who writes his stories on an iPad by using his nose, has been developing his website, crammed with intriguing discussion for around 5 years. He has interviewed the likes of Jeremy Kyle, Tanny Gray Thompson, Sir Ian Botham, Jimmy Tarbuck, Leslie Ash and Shirley Ballas. All his past interviews are available at www.beyondthetitle.co.uk.
And this is by Zach Saunders. Island duo with a difference, Wet Leg, have released a new single, Wet Dream. This June saw the arrival of Rhian Teasdale and Hester Chambers with their storming debut single Chaise Longue, which has clocked up more than 3 million streams and nearly 1 million video views. Now they're ready to unleash their new single, a 2.5-minute slice of exuberance, as unforgettable and buoyant as their debut single. Teasdale explains its origins. Wet Dream is a break-up song. It came about when one of my exes went through a stage of texting me after we'd broken up, telling me he'd had a dream about me. Having already become one of the most talked about bands at this summer's Latitude, Green Man and Isle of Wight festivals, Wet Leg quickly sold out their own forthcoming headline shows in London, Glasgow and Manchester. They're confirmed to be playing at this year's Pitchfork Music Festival in Paris and Amsterdam's London Calling. A full UK tour next year is due to be announced soon.
Good news! The Island Savoyards are back. The Popular Theatre Society will once again take to the stage at Shanklin Theatre after being unable to rehearse or perform for a long time due to the COVID pandemic. This year marks the Island Savoyards' 50th year. While the Society has made the decision to postpone their big golden anniversary celebrations until next year, members were eager to get back to the rehearsal room and on stage as soon as restrictions allowed. Between October the 24th, 21st and 24th, the Savoyards will be performing the deviously delicious Little Shop of Horrors at Shanklin Theatre. The iconic show has been devouring the hearts of theatregoers across the world for more than 30 years. Tickets are on sale at Shanklin Theatre's box office on 868,000 or online at shanklintheatre.com. Get yours now before they are gobbled up.
And at Medina Theatre during October and into November, we have The Foundations on Saturday the 23rd of October, Halloween Spectacular, or rather Spooktacular, Thursday the 28th of October, The Bootleg Shadows on Saturday the 6th of November, Andy Fairweather Low, Friday 19th of November, The Country Superstars, Friday the 26th of November, The Big Band at Christmas, 5-Star Swing, that's on Friday the 3rd of December, Christmas with Blake, Friday the 10th of December, Carpenter's Experience, Saturday the 11th of December, and on the 23rd of December to the 2nd of January, a brand new era of pantomime, Cinderella. And you can book any of these shows on 01983 823 884.
In additional news now, I have a headline that reads, Halloween to be a blast at Forley. The highly anticipated demolition of the Forley Power Station chimney is set to go ahead later this month. On Halloween, October the 31st, at approximately 7 a.m, the chimney and remaining southern end of the turbine hall will be demolished. This will be achieved through a controlled use of explosives. The date and time is subject to change, with the job dependent on suitable weather conditions. Back in July, a section of the power station was demolished as part of plans to build 1,500 homes on the site. An explosion was visible across the Solent before a huge cloud of smoke enveloped the area. In November 2020, a thunderous rumble was heard across the Isle of Wight as a planned demolition took place. The power station closed several years ago. From 5:30 a.m. on the day, an exclusion zone will be enforced around the site and surrounding area. While there are no designated viewing areas, people will be able to watch from across the water. Cowes and East Cowes are among the areas that will offer the best vantage point.
Brothers on two wheels for charity. A cyclist has conquered his challenge of riding almost 500 miles from Largs in Scotland to East Cowes, only 3 years after receiving a stem cell transplant to treat Hodgkin's lymphoma. Nicholas Early, 19, who was first treated for cancer in 2017 and relapsed the following year, achieved the epic feat with his older brother Matthew, with the pair arriving back on the Isle of Wight just 6 days after departing the west coast of Scotland. The brothers were fundraising for the East Cowes-based Ellen MacArthur Cancer Trust, the P.M. Brown Ward, the Wessex Children's Cancer Unit at University Hospital Southampton, and Teenage Cancer Trust, who all supported Nicholas during and after his treatment. So far, they have raised £4,500, smashing their £3,000 target. Nicholas sailed with the Ellen MacArthur Trust in 2017 before his relapse, and while in hospital, came up with the idea of riding between the two bases in Largs Yacht Haven and East Cowes Marina. Nicholas said the first sailing trip was amazing. I got a bit of confidence back. It was a good fun week and in and around the Solent. I just wanted to give back to some of the charities that have helped me. The best bit of the ride was probably the Lake District, going up an hour-long climb and an hour descent. It was good views, but the worst bit was the drive up to Largs. It was almost longer than the cycle back. Donations can still be made at www.justgiving.com/crowdfunding/Largs to East Cowes 469.
God's Hill man avoids jail term. A God's Hill man avoided jail when he appeared for sentencing at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court. With offences including several assaults, Levi Aaron Randall, 26, of Dubbers, was instead given a sentence of 4 months, suspended for 18 months. He must undergo an 18-month alcohol treatment requirement. 5 of his victims will get £100 compensation each and another £200. His offences were 3 counts of assaulting a police officer, 1 of resisting an officer, 1 of intimidating a witness, 1 of using threatening, abusive or insulting words or behaviour, 2 of assault by beating, 1 of criminal damage and possession of cannabis. He was in breach of a community order.
Date set for vital vote on oil plan. The crucial decision on the Arraton oil well exploration application looks set to be heard on Tuesday, October 19th. Campaigners say they have been told that this is the date when the Isle of Wight Council Planning Committee will consider giving Licence C, UK Oil and Gas plc, that's UKOG, permission to construct and operate a well site. The plan requests 2 exploratory boreholes, and UKOG wants to be on the site for 3 years. The Arraton site lies west of the village on private farmland. Campaigners fear that if the exploration is a success, a much longer project would be applied for, though it would be subject to extra planning permission. More than 1,100 comments have been lodged on the council's website, where their current application has been advertised, and thousands of objections have previously been recorded.
Anyone for cribbage? Do you play crib? On Thursday evenings at 6:30, a friendly group of people get together at the Isle of Wight Community Club to enjoy the game. Only £1 per session, depending on time, usually 6 games with a randomly chosen partner. For more information, call Jane on 717759 or just turn up. You will be welcomed.
Help is on hand to combat cold this winter. More than a dozen island organisations are coming together to help islanders combat the effects of the cold. A Winter is Coming event is taking place at the Riverside Centre on Newport Quay on Thursday. Running from 9:30am to 1:30pm, the event will cover increased energy prices, rising inflation, the upping of national insurance, customer benefits, job losses and poorly insulated homes. Those attending are asked to follow COVID guidance on hygiene and to wear face coverings. In the afternoon, from 2pm to 4pm, the event will go online.
I have a very large headline here that reads, New Ferry Firm, and then Island Consortium wants to take on Big 2 on Solent. A new player could be joining the Isle of Wight ferry market. An island-based consortium is working up a plan to run a community vehicle ferry service and has asked the Isle of Wight Council for its support. The county press believes a number of prominent island business people are directors of a company set up to run the service, but at time of going to press, calls were not being returned. However, Island MP Bob Seeley said he had spoken to those involved. He said the introduction of a third vehicle route would hopefully improve services and drive down prices. Mr. Seeley said he was working with those involved to access government funding and private investment. The latest Isle of Wight Council forward plan contains an item for the Cabinet meeting next month, asking for the authority's backing in principle. It says, request for Isle of Wight Council support in principle for the proposed development of a new community ferry service. To consider provision of a letter of support to an island-based consortium seeking to develop a new ferry service, the consortium will be consulting the public and key agencies about the principle of the proposal, and should a planning application come forward, consultation through the process. Mr. Seeley told the county press at the moment they're too expensive and there's no public service obligation. One of the potential answers to getting a better service and better value for islanders is to have a new entrant into the market with fixed or capped fares and a low-cost model that isn't loaded with corporate debt. A good chunk of the ferry fare islanders pay goes on debt and or overmanning. I have met potential operators and I have given them encouragement. I believe the island needs a low-cost operator option. I will support them to try to get government funding and investment so they can set up a rival to current firms.
New technology to detect underground water leaks is coming to the island, and more than £31 million will be spent by Southern Water to improve the water supply system. The utility company outlined its future investment plans in response to the County Press article last week, which exposed a damning report into the infrastructure underneath the island's roads. A spokesman said Southern Water invests heavily to replace and maintain its assets, including the water network on the Isle of Wight, where we supply up to 42 million litres of water a day. Our rolling programme of mains replacements targets areas most in need, such as the recent £400,000 Staplers Road replacement scheme, replacement of the Kells to Newport water main, and works to replace mains in the Ashy Road area of Ryde.
Fire at empty hotel. Multiple fire crews tackled a blaze at Sandown's Grand Hotel on Sunday afternoon. Firefighters were called to the Culver Parade Hotel at approximately 4 p.m. after a large fire broke out at the rear of the premises. Smoke was issuing from the building as crews from Newport, Ryde, Sandown and Shanklin arrived. The Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service said the blaze caused 80% damage to an outbuilding.
New scanners and other clinical equipment at the Isle of Wight NHS Trust accounted for an investment of more than £4.1 million over the last financial year. A second MRI scanner cost £2 million and a CT scanner cost £1.1 million, the Isle of Wight NH Trust's annual general meeting heard. Major investments by the Trust also included upgrades to the Children's Emergency Department at St Mary's Hospital. The Trust, which has also just won a CQC rating of good, more than doubled the amount it spent on capital investment.
Beautiful blue lobster has been found by a walker on Brook Beach and could be a rarity. The beautiful, brightly coloured creature, although dead and missing a claw, is a stunning specimen and could be so rare, experts believe the odds of catching one is 1 in 2 million. Daniel Livingstone from London contacted the county press after finding it washed up at Brook. He said, when walking along Brook Beach, I was about to turn back when I looked down and saw this blue lobster next to my feet.
Isle of Wight ferry passengers travelling to and from Yarmouth are sailing past around 120 million oyster larvae, the product of a colony of around 300 oysters. Blue Marine Foundation and the Universities of Portsmouth and Southampton have been working with cross-Solent operator Whitelink to release them into Lymington River. Only a fraction of the larvae will go on to reach adulthood, and the success of the project is being monitored by the organisations along with the Zoological Society of London. Dr. Luke Halmer, Restoration Science Officer at the Blue Marine Foundation, said, oyster reefs are important as they filter the water, reducing the impacts of excess nitrogen. They stabilise sediment, enhance fish production, and also provide habitats for hundreds of species. Reefs have declined by 95% around the UK's coastline, and their critical inputs have been lost from the environment. In order to increase the number of breeding oysters within the Solent, we've been working with Wight and other partners to create high-density populations which release millions of larvae.
A report by Zach Saunders and Kate Young. The London Marathon is one of the most emotive events in the sporting calendar, and this year's event last Sunday was no different. Many participants, including those from the island, were doing it for charities close to their hearts. This year, there was both a live race in London and a virtual event, so more runners were able to take part than ever. Completing the live marathon in 6 hours and 27 minutes, Emily Galt from Ryde suffered a number of injuries during the second half of her run, so had to walk the last 8 miles. Emily said she was disappointed to not get the time I was aiming for, but glad I finished despite the injuries. Emily ran for Diabetes UK and has raised more than £3,000 to date. She also did the virtual London Marathon last year. Danny Sturgeon, who is currently living in Caterham but has links with the island, completed the marathon in 4 hours and 43 minutes. He likes to encourage people to think about the little charities, not just the big ones. Danny ran for the Family Holiday Association and had raised £1,400 at the time of writing. The Bay CE School in Sandown cheered on their PE teacher Gareth Bricknell, who finished up with an impressive 3 hours and 44 minutes. Gareth ran in support of the White Brainy Bunch and has raised £3,300 for the Small Island charity. Sarah Cass from Ryde has run on and off for the past 17 years, but had never ran further than 10 miles before starting her marathon training. She crossed the finish line at 4 hours and 11 minutes and has raised £4,000 for Macmillan. Sarah said, "What an amazing emotional day." Beverly James from Lake ran the live race in aid of Cats Protection Isle of Wight and has raised £1,800 so far. She finished up with a time of 5 hours and 26 minutes. Beverly said, "It was an absolute wonderful experience. The other runners were amazing and the crowd was fantastic. We had a priest giving blessings with holy water in full attire, Scottish bagpipes, Morris dancing, singers with bands, singers with full orchestras, DJs. It was truly a wonderful experience." James Coleman from Sandown took part in the live race, supporting the National Hearing Loss charity RNID, and has raised £3,400. He has hearing problems, including hereditary degenerative hearing loss and tinnitus, and also suffered a massive sudden sensorineural hearing loss, which is SSHL, a few years ago. James completed the marathon in 4 hours and 22 minutes and said, "I usually manage a marathon in 3 hours and 45 minutes, but this year's event was so crowded it was more about soaking up the atmosphere." Alan Martin from Ryde ran the live race in aid of Cosmic, the children of St Mary's Intensive Care at St Mary's in Paddington. He finished in 5 hours and 35 minutes and has raised £1,200 for the charity, which is close to his heart. Gillian Shaw from Newport restarted running about 5 years ago, aged 61. Before that, she hadn't run since leaving school. She completed her marathon in 5 hours and 45 minutes and ran the race for Mountbatten, Isle of Wight. Gillian has raised £1,300 to support the charity and the care they provide to their patients. Gillian said, "It was an absolutely amazing day and superb support." She ran with several other members of the Newport-based Love Running Tuesday Nighters group.
Craig Jaspers from Cowes was one of a number of islanders who made up their own route for the virtual race. Until 18 months ago, Craig had never run more than 5 kilometres, and this was his first ever marathon. He finished up with a time of 6 hours and 8 minutes and was supporting Dementia UK by raising over £1,000. Craig said, "I'm very happy for my first ever marathon, and I got so much support from my family, friends and workmates at AJ Wales with encouragement and donations." Katie Simpson, who lives in Frome, Somerset, ran the virtual event in aid of the Epilepsy Society. Her nephew Albie, who lives on the island, was recently diagnosed with the condition. She completed the marathon in 5 hours 32 minutes and has raised over £1,500 for the special cause. Lisa Hendy of Newport ran the virtual race in aid of Isle of Wight Daisy Chains charity and has raised around £330. She'd never run a marathon before, but had completed the Great South Run and walked the Wight previously. Lisa finished her marathon in 5 hours and 41 minutes by completing 14 laps in Parker's Forest. Debbie Shrubsole from Totland ran her first ever marathon virtually, running up 5 barrows on the Tennyson Trail. She supported Leukemia Care and has raised £355, completing the marathon in 5 hours 48 minutes. Sarah Holmes of Shanklin ran her 22nd marathon and finished in 4 hours 24 minutes. She ran in support of mental health charity Mind, raising £1,600 at the time of writing. Sarah said the crowd were amazing all the way round. It made the hair stand up on the back of your neck. Martin Carr from Cowes ran his 15th London Marathon in support of Action Aid. He has raised £4,400 for his supported charity, finishing in 4 hours 31 minutes. As well as completing this year's London Marathon, Martin will also be running at the Isle of Wight Marathon this Sunday. Carla Haynes, a former Ventnor Middle School and Sandown High School student, also took on the marathon and completed the race in 4 hours 53 minutes. She was running in aid of the Alzheimer's Society in member of her grandpa Alan and granddad Len, and has so far raised £1,530. She said, "I was inspired by my dad, Paul Judge, and husband Rich to run regularly recently and felt proud to hold the Isle of Wight flag in London." Laura Head from Ryde ran the live race in London for Mind and has raised over £1,500 so far. She said, "With the amazing support from friends and family, I was able to complete the 26.2 miles in 4 hours and 48 minutes. A big thank you to Benbridge COV Primary School, where my daughter goes, for allowing the children and staff to wear blue for the day and raising just over £240 towards the charity." She also thanked the team at Northbrook House Care Home in Haven Street, where she works, for all their support. Another island runner was Ben Collins, who ran for Wheelpower, which helps children, Paralympians and anyone who needs special wheelchairs. Ben, 52 of Benbridge, completed the marathon in 4 hours and 57 minutes and has raised over £2,600 for Wheelpower so far. Stuart Shepherd of Newport took part in the live race in London and finished in 4 hours 12 minutes. Stuart is running in aid of IWASBAH, the Isle of Wight Association for Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus, because his great-nephew Joey was born with the condition 5 years ago and has undergone many ops on his spine, brain and bladder since he was 6 hours old. Stuart has raised over £600 to date. Finally, County Press reporter Kate Young took a hilly route in West Wight for her virtual marathon in aid of the Wessex Cancer Trust. She said, "I took it slowly because I have a 30-mile, 50-kilometre race on October the 16th, so I finished in 8 hours. She's just raised over £350 so far. Congratulations to everyone who raised money for incredible causes by completing the London Marathon 2021. And now it's goodbye from Pauline.
And it's goodbye from Morris.
The Vectors Radio podcasts are sponsored by Break the Cycle CIC, rebuilding self-esteem in people who have experienced domestic abuse. For more, email hello@breakthecycle.org.uk.
But first off, I'd like to welcome Chris Kane from Site for Wight to the studio. Good afternoon, Chris.
Good afternoon.
Long time since you've been in here.
It has been a while, hasn't it?
We've been saying that to lots of people, but it's nice to get people back into the studio.
Yeah.
I know we're all sort of plexiglassed up in here, so it's all splatter-proof.
And he's so far away I can't hit him.
No.
Well, I say that, I actually saw you Sunday evening, didn't I?
Yes, we were to background of that, we went down to St Catherine's Church in Ventnor to see the great Idana Minghella perform with her band.
Good?
She was superb.
Yes.
And her dad was there, which was great to see Eddie Minghella there, 100 years old, still running about laughing and joking with everybody.
Yes.
Great fun.
And Joya.
And
Joya,
yes. Joya and her husband. I've never met her husband before. So they were all there. The Minghella family were out in strength, of course. But it was a great evening,
It
and
was.
well done to the church too. To be fair, they allowed people to use that space for community purposes.
Yes.
And they turned out some at the church. We've got some refreshments you can buy. Oh, we'll have some of that then.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
just chocolate biscuits and coffee, but why not?
It's great. Yeah.
just what you need, isn't it?
Just great.
Halfway through. So yeah, we did see you on Sunday, but we
Yes.
haven't seen you in here for a long time.
No. You look well, both of you, if I may
Well,
say.
fine,
And so
thank
do
you.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking very handsome as usual.
Oh, that's why you're my favourite.
So we're going to talk about I tell you what, we'll talk about the story writing competition in a minute after the next record. But first, you want to do a plug for some volunteers, don't you?
Yeah, I know. With all charities, we are all looking for volunteers, and particularly we are looking for minibus drivers.
Oh, right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, whatever help. If anyone's got any availability, please get in touch with us. Ideally, if we've got any drivers from Ride, because we are looking for some drivers from Ride to take people to the Medina swimming pool.
Right.
They'll get a free swim out of it. You know, if they
Okay.
want to.
Do they have to have their own minibus?
No, they can. We've got a vehicle.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but we do obviously have our own minibus.
Yes.
But we are definitely looking for drivers. So please, anyone, please get in touch.
How often is that you need them? I mean, is it every day, every week?
Well, it's really as little or as often. The swimming is every week.
Yes.
So, but we would have a rota. We do have some drivers.
Yes.
So Susan, our amazing members and volunteers manager, she works out who can do what. But
You need a few more.
We are struggling a little bit.
It's like a lot of organisations, there's a few do it all. You could just do a couple more to ease the load a bit.
Yeah, and also some escorts.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
okay,
to help out. Our Thursday, we call it now the Thursday Mix and Mingle group, which is becoming, we're getting like 16, 18 people coming every week. So we ideally need a volunteer to help with the lunch cover, just helping with the teas, coffees, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone, so that could be weekly, monthly, whatever anyone could help us with, please get in touch on 522205, and we would be delighted to hear from you.
So if you can drive a minibus or make tea,
Yes.
coffee,
Multitasking.
Yeah,
Yes.
not whilst you're driving.
No. Now, what was that number again, Chris?
522205.
You got any time at all to help a very worthy charity on
It
the island,
is, yes.
and it's simple stuff. Driving a minibus, I've done it.
So whereabouts are you
before.
based?
We're in Newport, 137 Carisbrooke Road, Newport.
Yeah,
Right.
but don't try and find it in Carisbrooke Road.
No,
you need to go up the other road.
Castle Road. Come along Castle Road.
Road.
We've got a big car park.
Yeah,
so-
you go in there. You try and find it in Carisbrooke Road. It was a gate.
Yeah.
Very strange. But
So you sort of take the left-hand fork by the vets,
Yes.
yes,
and it's down there and on the right.
that's it. That's
That's
the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
Perhaps that's the place.
Thank you.
We're here to talk about story writing competitions.
Yes.
Yay.
Now, this has been going on for a few years now, hasn't it?
Well, in actual fact, it's been going for 12 years.
Really?
The RC Bridgestock started the competition.
They did,
We
yeah.
did, yes.
And so they very kindly allowed us to sort of carry on. So it's
Yes.
actually our 6th year doing it
Or on
Okay.
your own.
on our own.
Yes.
Yes, without hand holding.
yes.
Yes.
So-
So I can't believe it's come around so quickly.
Hasn't
So,
it just?
describe what it is to those who've never heard of it before.
Okay. Our short story writing competition is for budding authors that enjoy writing short stories. They want to have a bit of fun. They can have their story published.
They can have it read out
They
on the
can
radio.
have it read out on the radio. Yeah, they'll come here. The winners
Yeah.
will
Yes.
come here and have a chat and interview. Also, the celebrity they'll get the story recorded by a celebrity.
Oh, do we know who they are yet?
We do.
Or are they secret?
No,
Oh.
it's all good. I can tell you who the celebrities are.
Right, go for it.
Okay, we've got Melvin Hayes returning.
Hooray!
Yep.
Yeah, he was delighted to be involved again. We're giving Adana a year off this year
Right.
Yes.
because she's done it religiously for us. So,
She has.
So we're giving her a bit of a holiday. So we've got Richard Cadell. Now, if I say the name, you might think, oh, no, I don't know who that is. But if I
Hi-de-hi.
say, you're sort of along the right lines.
Yeah.
But little puppet,
Ah,
Sooty.
he's
Really?
he's the sooty man.
He's the Sooty man,
Oh,
yes.
right.
Yeah, he is. He's
That was
also
Matthew. What's his
Matthew
face?
Corbett used to
Yeah,
do it, and his dad before him,
Harry.
Harry Corbett.
It's going
Corbett,
back
yeah.
a few.
Yes.
It's not old enough.
I remember Harry Corbett.
No, you're not.
No, I don't remember him, apparently. No. So, Richard
Oh, yeah,
Goodell.
him, right.
And he's been doing it for some years now, yeah.
Right,
but
yeah.
He's also a magician, so...
Yeah, Sooty was always part of a sort of a magic feel thing, didn't he?
Yes.
So I suppose Richard's reading it, not Sooty, otherwise you wouldn't hear a word.
Well, I thought about Sooty reading it, but very good point, Maggie. Yes, it wouldn't work, would it?
No.
So we're going to get Richard to do...
Or Sweep.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So Richard's delighted to help us.
Good.
Robert Dawes, you might think, but if I said he's been in Midsummer Murders, Casualty, probably The Royal, he's probably most famous for. No.
Right.
Okay. Death in Paradise, Poldark.
Right, he's one of those actors that you think, I know him
Yes,
from
you
somewhere.
would know.
He's
you
been
would
in
know
all
him.
sorts
He's been in all
of
sorts of
Been in
stuff.
all sorts of things,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, so we've got
So
him.
they're going to record those.
Amy Robbins.
Right.
Now, similar, she's actually married to Robert Dawes, believe it or not. Little fact there.
Oh, right.
She's also been in EastEnders, Holby City,
All right.
Right.
Hollyoaks, also The Royal.
Yeah.
And have you ever heard of an actress or singer called Kate Robbins?
Yes.
Yes.
That's sister. They are sisters.
Ah.
Yes.
And there's a brother, isn't there, as well?
I think there is.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of these actors who make a lot of their living by being in everything.
Yes.
They're not one who think, oh yeah, I've seen you. You had the starring role in XYZ amazingly popular series, but you appeared in Casualty in The Bill. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got those. They're going to record those in their best diction.
Yes, absolutely, in their best diction. Yes, yeah. So, nice to have some new celebrities as well.
Yes, indeed.
So yeah, very excited about it. The competition was launched a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
So yes, you can, if you're interested, you can go to our website, siteforwight.org.uk. You can email me, admin@iwsb.org.uk, or you can give us a call on 52205 and we'll send you an entry form. You can also get entry forms from Waterstones, Dress for Less, or at Site for Wight along Carriagebit Road or Castle Road if you're coming by car.
Okay, so what does one have to do to write?
Right, we have the we have the 4 categories. We have the 3 categories are 18 plus,
Yep.
under 18s,
Yep.
and 12 to 17.
Right.
So the under 18s is up to 750 words writing,
Right.
and the 18 plus is 1,500 to 2,000 words.
Right.
Okay, so we're talking quite short stories.
Yeah, they're quite short stories. The theme this year is vision. Just
Right.
the word vision.
Okay.
So you can interpret that how you wish. It could be a vision of the future, or it could be to do with sight.
Yes.
So we really don't mind. It doesn't have to be Christmas themed, and you don't have to have vision as your title.
Okay.
It's just that's just to
the
get
theme.
you. That's your theme, to sort of get your creative juices flowing
Right.
and
So you
produce.
said there's 4 categories.
Oh yeah,
That was 3 you said.
Yes, what we do then, you see, because sometimes the quality of the writing is.
Count.
Yeah, I know, I was counting on my fingers. the quality of some of the stories is absolutely exceptional.
Yes.
So we just feel that there should be like a highly commended category
Oh,
that,
right.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
that we just slip in as well.
What about for 4-year-olds?
Well, yes,
Do you remember
yes.
the
We,
little
that was the
4-year-old?
first year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
He got a special prize, didn't
He
he?
did, and that was recorded by Katie Manning. I can't
Yes.
remember the title of the story,
No.
but I remember Freddie. Somebody, I think his
Yeah,
name
but
was.
it was very, very short.
It
story.
was a very short story.
It was
but
only 4. What
I
do you
know he
expect?
did a great job of it.
It was
yeah.
great, yeah. So
Yeah.
definitely the youngest.
So, what's the deadline on this then?
Deadline is Friday the 12th of November.
Right, so not far.
Not
about
too
a month
far.
or
Yeah,
so.
got a month or so left.
And then you'll have some judges to
We'll have
to
mystery
read.
judges.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it's
yeah,
all
so-
anonymised, isn't it? So you
Yes.
don't know who's written what.
No, and it's open to. It's not just island wide. You can really enter wherever you are.
Yes, you had a winner from Ireland, didn't you?
We
Amy?
did, and actually one from America,
Yeah.
from Los Angeles, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Excellent. So, and the actual event is when and where?
Yeah, the award ceremony is on Friday the 10th of December. We're going for a Friday this year. We've normally had Mondays, but we're going for a Friday this year.
Okay.
So make sure you two have got your diaries free.
I was
for
going to
Friday.
check the diary in a minute.
I'll be asking for your help.
Oh,
No,
no.
don't shake your head. No.
Oh,
I got a feeling we might be
It's
somewhere.
our Christmas meal.
Oh, is it?
Oh yes.
The college,
Oh, you
yes.
could change that. You
No.
could- But yeah, that's when it is this year.
Okay, fair enough.
And it's at the Riverside Centre.
Oh, right. Good.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Excellent. It's always a good do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always good there. And it'd be nice and Christmassy.
Won't
Yes, it will, yes.
And,
Good.
we hope to have some fun and sort of raise some money.
So can you give us the contact details one more time then, Chris?
Absolutely. Again, you can download an entry form by going to our website, siteforwight.org.uk. You can email me, Chris, and that's admin@iwsb.org.uk, or you can give us a call on 52205, or if you want to pop in, Waterstones, Dress for Less, which is opposite Man in the Moon,
Yeah.
or come into our office, Site for Wight, along Carisbrooke Road, Castle Road.
And is there a charge for go?
Yeah, entry for adults is £8,
Yes.
and £2 for under 18s.
Excellent.
Per story.
Per story.
Okay.
Well, if you enter more than one story, yes.
Yes, you can write as many as you want.
And is there an entry fee for the awards evening?
No, that's
No.
free. Come along, have some fun.
Okay.
It'll be a good night.
There'll be a raffle, of course.
Yeah, be a raffle. Yeah, we'll have some entertainment as well, but that's that's still work in
excellent.
progress.
Yes.
Thank you, Chris.
My pleasure.
Looking forward to that, and we'll get back to having you in monthly, I think.
Yeah, that'll be very nice. Thank you. Yeah, we've got
Yeah.
lots going on, so it'd be nice for different
Good,
people to
yes.
come in and talk
Please
about
do.
what's going on.
Please do.
There is no scaffolding news this week. The In Touch programme follows. Banks and ATMs, assistive tech for work. In Touch. Figures by the consumer group Which show that over a 6-year period, the number of bank branches across the UK have decreased by around 44%. The number of cash machines have also decreased in just 2 years. We've lost nearly 11,000 of them nationwide. But what does this mean for people who may prefer to use cash or visit their local branch? We speak with the head of money at Which, Gareth Shaw, about their findings on this. We also talked to the UK's largest provider of cash machines, Link, about the future financial landscape in the UK, and to the Baron Holmes of Richmond, Lord Chris Holmes, about a new pilot scheme that aims to keep the cash flowing within local communities. And when it comes to employment, around just 1 in 4 visually impaired people of working age have a job. As you may know, there are many barriers that prevent people getting into work, but one of those is perhaps that job seekers and prospective employers alike are unaware of the technology that will aid visually impaired people when in work. Well, our reporter, Fern Lulham, is here to help and has put together some information about some of the best work-based technology on the market. Presenter, Peter Wight, producer, Beth Hemmings.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening. Tonight, is it getting harder to deal with your money if you have sight problems? Some of you are telling us that it is, and so now is the consumer advocate Which, and a user's guide to the technology we're told could help us get jobs.
When it comes to being a shop assistant, it would seem there's a useful piece of kit on the market to help blind and visually impaired people cash in. It's a talking till.
Welcome cashier 1350. £3.50 menswear, £10 to pay.
But first, some of your messages to us arrive in sudden bursts of irritation or, less often, approval. Others in a steady stream, and no stream is steadier than complaints about banks. The closing of branches, failure to understand our communication needs, telephone services with long delays in answering, followed by interminable questions when you do get through, and the perception that everything is now geared to persuading people to go online. Here's a sample of what we've been receiving from you lately.
My relative does not use email herself or access any online services. She can manage to view documents either in large print or with a magnifier. I complained on her behalf in 2020 because the COVID situation was also preventing either of us from visiting a branch. The only answer I got from our bank was to sign up to something called a savings watch, an online alternative. I've tried again this year by contacting them via Facebook. Still, I get the same reply.
And this from someone who did try to go online.
The whole process of getting this sorted out has been ludicrous. We applied at the beginning of February and I was told that they would accept forms filled in electronically. Then it took months for the forms to be sent on to the right team. Then we were sent information which was not accessible, even though I'd told the bank about our access needs, info in braille, large print and electronic format. A couple or so months after this, we were sent audio card readers, and 10 weeks later, we're still waiting for PIN numbers and cards to use with the card readers to arrive with info in accessible formats. So now it's over 7 months since we first applied for internet banking.
I am severely sight impaired and live alone. I do not have access to a suitable computer and software. I used to use my bank's telephone system on my handset. This changed last year and is totally unsuitable. I find that in most cases, contacting not only banks but most companies, you are told to go on the internet. There never seems to be a way of short-circuiting this by using a telephone keypad and opting to speak to a human being, not a robot. It makes me feel that companies are hiding behind the lockdown to avoid speaking to customers.
Well, that's an admittedly unscientific sample of emails to us, but the Consumer Advocate, which has conducted a survey talking to around 1,500 disabled people, and they seem to have come to rather similar conclusions. Joining me is Gareth Shaw, who is Head of Money for Which. Gareth, what did your survey find?
Well, 4 in 10 disabled customers told us that bank branch closures had a negative impact on their ability to access banking services. They reported issues dealing with online banking. That was particularly a challenge for this group. 1 in 10 said they found it difficult to navigate their bank's website. 1 in 5 said it was difficult to navigate their way around their bank's security measures. But it wasn't just digital banking that they had problems with. There was telephone banking as well, as one of your case studies was saying. A quarter of disabled customers told us that they found it difficult speaking to their bank over the phone. For people with visual impairments, that was around 1 in 4 said they found it difficult to speak into their bank on their phone.
Now, your figures, I think they show we've lost 46% of bank branches between 2015 and 2021, which equates to 2 branches a day over those 6 years. What in particular are people telling you about how this affects them, especially visually impaired people?
The branch network has changed radically over the past 5 or 6 years. As you were saying, we have seen a 44% cut in the network. Around 2/5 of people said that they've suffered because of the closures. And the thing is, even those that try and resist it find that they can't get what they need from the alternative methods of banking. So digital banking becomes a challenge, telephone banking becomes a challenge. But the reduction in branch access has been particularly challenging for this group of people.
And I guess the trouble is there's a bit of a double whammy here about cash, isn't there? Because if you can't go to your branch, and perhaps people are also finding that ATMs are rather thinner on the ground.
There has been a reduction in the ATM network, that's absolutely true. Reflective of the change in payment behaviour, people are using cash less, therefore maintaining that infrastructure becomes more expensive. But when we're in areas where your bank branch was where your ATM was and they disappear completely, that does create challenges for people when it comes to access to cash. There are 10 or 11,000 post offices around the country that people can carry out basic banking business, but people have told us they're not always comfortable doing that. They don't see that as a suitable alternative to a bank branch and therefore perhaps unwilling to engage with their finances in such a setting.
Well, we'll come back to that issue of ATMs. We did invite UK Finance onto the programme. They represent the UK's banks. No one was available. They have sent us this statement. The financial services industry, they say, is constantly working to improve access to banking for visually impaired customers, including through talking ATMs, cards and statements with braille markings and mobile banking apps that use voice and touch recognition. But technology is not for everyone, they go on to say, and bank branches continue to play an important role in the life of local communities, meaning decisions to close them are never taken lightly. Understanding the needs of local communities is vital, and the industry supports the Independent Community Access to Cash pilot scheme, which is currently trialling and testing different ways to help people to access cash in 8 locations around the country. Well, of course, for people who would still prefer to use cash rather than cards, there's a double problem here. We've talked about bank branch closures, but one alternative, if there isn't now a bank near you, would be to go to a cash machine. But they are by no means always accessible, and in any case, they're disappearing too. Graham Mott is Director of Strategy for Link. They are the UK's largest cash machine network. Graham, I think you have some statistics on this. How fast are ATMs disappearing?
I mean, what we've seen during the last sort of year or since the start of the pandemic is ATM numbers have reduced overall by about 7%, which is significantly less than the reduction in cash usage itself. So the value of cash which is coming out of ATMs is down about sort of 25 to 28% what it was before the pandemic. And we don't expect that to come back.
Why are we losing so many ATMs so quickly? What's the thinking behind this?
Link connects the various ATMs, but there's not a central body which places ATMs. So ATMs are there because ATM operators feel they can make money from people using them. And banks obviously have ATMs in their bank branches. So, when bank branches disappear, the ATMs in them usually disappear as well. Not always, sometimes they're retained, but usually they disappear. And then in other locations, some places are proving just not economically viable for ATMs. There have been changes. Some of those changes may only be temporary. So, for example, some supermarkets you may have seen there were 3 ATMs. They reduced them to 2 to enable social distancing. Some of those may come back again, so they may be switched on. Some of those may disappear forever, and that may not necessarily be an issue because if there's still 2 ATMs and there were 3, well, they're not as busy as they were before, so there's still a suitable access to cash for people in that area.
Can you just tell us briefly about this community access to cash pilot that I mentioned? How will this benefit people?
Well, at the moment, it's a pilot. So what they're doing is looking at a variety of different solutions as to what people want. And many of these are based around shared facilities. So one of the issues, of course, is as banks are usually only accessible to customers of that particular bank. So if you're a Barclays customer, you can only go to a Barclays branch. And so one of the areas which we're looking at, which has been thought about for a long, long period of time, is could you have a shared facility where customers from any bank can go to it and use the facilities. Now, post offices are like that. Most bank customers can use a post office counter. And so it's seeing whether that model can be expanded. Does it have to be a post office? Could it be something else? And those shared facilities might therefore be economically viable if one bank branch, which is only serving the customers of that bank, wasn't viable going forward.
Well, listening to all of that is Chris Holmes, now Lord Holmes, who has sat on something called the House of Lords Select Committee on Financial Exclusion and who is himself visually impaired. Lord Holmes, what do you think about this idea of community banking hubs that Graham has just been describing? Is this an answer? Are these replacements to bank branches?
The community hubs, I think, need to be part of wider solutions. I was able to get an amendment through the Financial Services Bill, now Act, earlier this year to enable cash back without a purchase. So blind and visually impaired people will be able to go to, for example, a local corner shop or their local cafe and get cash back without a purchase. Again, that's not the total solution, but it's part of an array of solutions which we need because cash still matters and it matters materially to millions.
Just one issue that we've not talked much about but was mentioned in our emails. How practical is online banking for visually impaired people? Some people do it very successfully, don't they?
Unquestionably, digital is the future, but that future needs to be accessible, it needs to be inclusive, and crucially, the transition to that digital future needs to be accessible and inclusive. Much more work needs to be done to enable blind and visually impaired people, and indeed to enable all people to have that accessibility and inclusivity. And even when we get to that point, cash will still matter, people will still prefer to use it, and also I think the government needs to really strongly consider whether they have cash as part of critical national infrastructure and also to legislate for a universal service obligation for cash.
And yet people talk rather glibly about the cashless society as if it's just one of those things we better get used to. Has anyone really thought about how that might affect blind people? And indeed, are there examples where it's almost happened already?
There are some key international comparators. Sweden would be the most obvious by a specific date. By the 24th of March 2023, Sweden will be a cashless society. And they have some good technology in the mix. They have thought about it in a number of ways, but there still remains this key question of inclusion, of accessibility, and enabling the comfort and the confidence to every citizen to be able to transact and fully participate in that society. If we do nothing in the United Kingdom, cash will go off a cliff face and it will leave potentially between 5 and 8 million people in extraordinarily difficult circumstances, and a considerable number of those people will be blind and visually impaired.
Sobering thoughts. Lord Holmes, thank you very much indeed, and also my thanks to Graham Mott and Gareth Shaw. Now, regular In Touch listeners will by now be only too familiar with the fact that only just over 1 in 4 visually impaired people of working age actually have a job. Whenever we cover this, someone is always bound to mention the ever-growing range of technology available using speech and magnification to close the information gap. The trouble is, making both job seekers and prospective employers aware of what's available is difficult, which is why this week we've asked Fern Lulham at least to scratch the surface of some of the equipment which could be of help.
Special equipment is starting to make more things possible than ever before, and I was keen to explore the types of technology which might enable us to work in all kinds of different industries.
Opening Documents folder.
Although voice technology such as screen readers may seem like old news to people with low vision, it is a very important tool for employers to be made aware of, as it can make so many different kinds of on-screen work possible for someone who has little or no sight. For example, lawyers needing to read legal documents, computer programmers using coding, or even me in my own work as a radio reporter. I'm able to use both magnification tools and voiceover assistants to help me edit the interviews and audio I collect.
Play.
A career perhaps not commonly... Oh, God. Right, so I clearly go wrong there. I'm going to cut.
Delete audio.
And no one will ever know. Let's move now into the busy, bustling office environment. Equipment such as electronic magnifiers and braille keyboards have been used for many years to enable visually impaired people to independently complete tasks around the office. This might include any role from an admin to a trainer to a manager. I was interested to try out the latest update on the new iOS system released recently, which allows the user to take a photo on their mobile device and have voice technology dictate any text within that picture. It sounded really handy for tasks which require reading paperwork. I'm going to write something on this piece of paper, and let's see if it'll read it to me.
This is an important letter.
Whoa, if it could read my handwriting, it can read anything. So what about retail? Well, when it comes to being a shop assistant, it would seem there's a useful piece of kit on the market to help blind and visually impaired people cash in. Yep, you've guessed it. It's a talking till, the first of its kind, developed by the WESC Foundation in Exeter. Sadly, I was unable to get my hands on one. But here's what it sounds like as it reads out any messages on its high-contrast touchscreen.
Welcome cashier 1, 3, 5, 0. £3.50 menswear. Current subtotal is £10. £10 to pay.
You learn something new every day, don't you? And speaking of which, let's step inside the classroom. How possible is it to work as a blind or visually impaired teacher? Well, Tech's got a solution for that too. Smartboards are now standard in most classrooms, which has made writing things up for students to copy down easier than ever. All you need to do is dictate your notes into a computer, and they will appear on the whiteboard screen before your class as if by magic. So if I hold down this key... Hello class, my name is Miss Lulham. And there it is, in massive writing that even I can read. Next up is a firm favourite of mine, the food and drinks industry. Ever fancied being a blind barista? Well, with handy little devices like the liquid level indicator, which clips onto the side of any cup or glass and allows the pourer to know when it's full by beeping, why not? I'm going to go very slowly. Oh, we're there. Success. And finally, I thought I'd explore a career perhaps not commonly considered for someone with less sight. Photography. How easy is it to capture powerful images when you have low vision? Well, with apps and built-in accessibility features on smartphones which can help tell you what's in frame through your camera's viewfinder, even this isn't out of the picture. And it was something I definitely wanted to give my best shot.
Okay, I have my subject, Nancy, the guide dog. Sit, Nancy, sit. Good girl. That's it, wait. Look at me.
One face.
One face. Yes, it's your face. That's it, keep looking at me. 1, 2, 3. Gorgeous.
All in all, it would seem technology should be changing our professional lives for the better. But it can only do that if employers know about it and realise they can apply for financial support using schemes like Access to Work. Tech will surely keep advancing and hopefully continue to help us overcome our challenges and break down any barriers to a job we love. As for me, I'm still waiting for Siri to be able to finish off my work on my behalf.
Hey Siri, put my report together for me.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
Well, I guess you can't have everything.
Well, I have to warn you, Fern, that if Siri does do that, we'll have to pay her, not you. That was Fern Lulham reporting. And that's it for today. We always welcome your thoughts and experiences on anything that we've talked about in the programme. We're particularly keen at the moment to hear from people who are only recently losing their sight. Are you receiving the help you need with learning to cope with this new situation? And if you're still waiting to get help, what effect is it having? Email in touch at bbc.co.uk. You can leave us a voice message on 0161 836 1338 or go to our website bbc.co.uk/in touch, where you can download tonight's and previous editions of the programme. From me, Peter Wight, producer Beth Hemmings and studio manager Sue Stonestreet, goodbye.